Welcome back to the Print 3D channel and another episode of the Weekend Print. On this episode of the Weekend Print, we're going to check out Frankenstein's monster. Welcome back, and thank you for joining me here on the Weekend Print here on the Print 3D channel. With Halloween approaching, I thought it was time to finally print out something Halloween related. And while searching around on Thingiverse, I came across Frankenstein's monster with the removable brain. And for this model, we're going to use MatterHackers PRO PLA, and we're going to use two different colors too. We're going to use the light blue for the body, and I'm going to use the purple for the brain. And I'm really excited about this one, so let's head over to Thingiverse and download our model, slice it up in Simplify 3D, and get it ready for printing on the GMAX 1.5 XT Plus. Alright, so here we are at Thingiverse. Here is Frankenstein's monster with the removable brain from YEG 3D. I'll put the link down in the description so you can download and print this yourself. It looks really cool and I'm really excited to get printing on this. It's a pretty popular model and I've seen quite a few prints, and he did a really cool job here and I can't wait to print it. So let's go ahead and download this thing and head over to Simplify 3D and get it ready for printing on the GMAX 1.5 XT Plus. Alright, so here we are in Simplify 3D. Let's go ahead and grab Frankenstein's head. Oh, what's this? Part appears to be extremely small and maybe in inches format. Would you like to automatically scale to millimeter format? Well, yes, I use millimeters for my printer. Alright, so it's facing the wrong way. Let's go ahead and flip him around. 180 here in the Z rotation. We'll click on done. Let's zoom in on this guy and check him out. He is pretty small, but I kind of want to print him this small and see what he looks like. And we may print him at a later date a little bit larger. But for right now, let's go ahead and set him up to print on the GMAX 1.5 XT Plus at this size. So let's check out my process settings. For the layer height, we're going to use a 0.2 millimeter as always, 3 top and bottom solid layers, and 3 perimeters. We're going to run our skirt at 10 millimeters from the object with 4 outlines, just to make sure my print bed is level. For infill, we're only going to use 10% on this guy. I don't think he's going to need any more than that. We're not going to use any support material. For temperature, this is MatterHackers PRO PLA, and I found that 200 was the best temperature, so that's what temperature we're going to run this entire model out at. For cooling, we're going to start at the first layer at the fan speed at 0, and on the third layer, we're going to kick it up to 80%. Speed, we're going to go at 40 millimeters per second. That's usually what I print my models out on the GMAX 1.5 XT Plus, and it seems to work pretty good. And that'll about do it for this, so let's go ahead and hit OK. And let's hit Prepare to Print. This shouldn't take too long. It's a pretty small model. There's a lot of geometry here, but it should be pretty quick, and there it is. It says it's going to take about 4 hours and 14 minutes. That's not too bad. Let's go ahead and hit the play button and see how this prints. Alright, let's zoom in a little bit here and check it out. That's a pretty decent overhang there on the chin and on these little bolts. And then over there on his ears. And then it's going to wrap up and create the bowl at the top where we're going to put the brain model. Alright, that's pretty awesome. Let's go ahead and save the toolpath to disk and get the brain model set up to print. Alright, so let's drag in our brain model. Once again, we're getting this inches format warning. I believe everything should be modeled in millimeters, so this must have just been a modeling error, but we'll go ahead and hit yes. Alright, let's turn our model so we can get the best cooling possible for this, because it does have a pretty steep overhang, and we are going to be using support on this, so let's double click on the model. And let's rotate this minus 90 degrees. Alright, so that's facing that way. That should be pretty good for our print. Let's go ahead and open up our process settings. We're going to use the same settings except for we're only going to add support. So let's go ahead and go to support material and click on generate support material. We'll hit OK and hit prepare to print. This shouldn't take too long even though it is running with support. And there's our little brain model. And it's going to take about an hour and 45 minutes. That's not too bad. Let's go ahead and hit play and watch this print out. Alright, as you can see, the support material is super necessary for this print because it's got a very small footprint. And it's going to really need it to keep this brain up in the air like that. Alright, so let's go ahead and save the toolpath to disk and head over to the GMAX 1.5 XT Plus and get this printing. Alright, so I have the SD card loaded up with both models. We're going to start with the head and then we'll finish up with the brain. So let's load up some of that MatterHackers PRO PLA in the color of light blue and get this printing. And I'll set up that time-lapse camera and I'll see you guys on the other side. Alright, so the print is done. It took just over 4 hours, just like Simplify 3D said, and this thing turned out amazing. Check this out. I'll put some close-ups in at the end like I always do, but his little face is perfect. I mean, you can see his big fat upper lip. His eyes are closed, so there's no eye detail, but his nice big heavy brow. His little ear overhangs are just perfect. Same with his bolts. This turned out amazing. I'm thinking I might print this bigger, but let's print the brain out and see how that turns out, and we'll go from there. Okay, so I pulled all the support material off the brain. It's done printing. It took just about 2 hours, hour and 45 minutes. And it turned out pretty good. I mean, there's some scarring on the bottom. I'll show some close-ups at the end like I normally do. And it's a little rough on the top, but honestly, I think it looks pretty awesome. It does look like a brain. So let's check out Frankenstein here and let's see if it fits inside. Oh, that's perfect. Look at that. That's awesome. That's a cool little print. And I like this a lot. You know what? I think I'm going to GMAX size this. So let's head back over to Simplify 3D and blow this sucker up really big. And let's make a candy dish for Halloween. That sounds like a really great idea. So let's go do this. All right, so here we are back in Simplify 3D. I went ahead and set up a multiple process file. And I want to do that because I only want to use 5% infill at the bottom and 10% infill at the top to support the bowl. And I did that by setting up multiple processes. And I'll show you what I did here. For the first process, from 0 to 150 millimeters, again, we're only going to use 5% infill. And to stop it from printing, you go under the Advanced tab and go Stop Printing at what height. And for this one, it's 150 millimeters. For the second process, 150 millimeters to finish, under Advanced, you go Start Printing at 150, and we don't put a stop in, so it'll just continue to print. And of course, the infill is changing to 10%. So we'll hit OK. All right, so now we'll hit Prepare to Print, and we hit Select All and do continuous printing layer by layer. That's what we want. And this will take a few seconds to do its slicing because it's a pretty good size model, and we're running multiple processes. So I believe that'll take a little bit longer. But I'll let this run out at real time, and you'll see exactly how long it takes. All right, it's wrapping up. All right, there it is. You can see here it'll take 27 hours and 54 minutes, and that's a pretty rough estimate for Simplify 3D. And it's going to use over 600 grams of filament or 1.35 pounds. So let's go ahead and hit play and see how this prints. And as you can see here, we have 5% infill to begin with. And if we slide this along at 150 millimeters right here, it's going to switch to 10% infill to support the big bowl at the top, and then wrap up the print. So let's go ahead and save the toolpaths off to the SD card. We're going to use MatterHackers PRO PLA in the color of white for this printout, and I'll set up that time-lapse camera and I'll see you guys on the other side. Alright, so 29 hours later we have Frankenstein's monster. I didn't print the brain because we're going to use this as a candy dish because it's huge and it's got a lot of room. But this thing turned out awesome. I cannot say enough about this MatterHackers PRO PLA. It really does a dynamite job. And of course the GMAX 1.5 XT Plus performed perfectly, but the print is just really great. There's some roughness on the chin from some cooling issues, And of course it did curl up on the edges during the print. But all in all, it turned out awesome. You can see his little scar on the back of his head. His chin and nose are just, everything just turned out really great. This is a really great model. So thank you again for joining me here on the Weekend Print. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Happy Halloween to everybody, and please be safe. And please remember to subscribe to the channel, comment and like on those videos, and join me again on the very next episode of the Weekend Print. This guy turned out awesome. Now I have 2 Frankenstein models, one for candy and one for display.